Hey everybody, I hope that you're doing well. Welcome back to Spirituality with Gabriella. If it is your first time on my channel, I am a channeler, so I connect to your team in spirit. I am also a life coach, and on this channel I share channeled messages from spirit and also just my different experiences with my own spiritual journey and tips that can help you. So my main mission in life is to help people ascend through getting tools that are both spiritual and practical so that they can exist at their highest vibration. And today I wanted to share a little bit about my experience at Damanhur and just tell you my own personal experience, what I went through while I was there, and a little bit more about Damanhur. And this is just my personal perspective, so I hope that if you consider going to Damanhur or learning more about Damanhur and their lifestyle, that this is helpful for you. So first things first, Damanhur is a spiritual community that exists to attempt to create a new timeline on Earth. And what Damanhur aims to do is to live in harmony with animals, plants, people, and they create a whole community around this mission. So Damanhur as a community realizes that people have gotten very far departed from what is true to their soul, and in doing so they have also moved quite far away from truly respecting the natural world around us. And so their mission at Damanhur is to live in a more sustainable way, and you could think of this a little bit like an off-the-grid society, but it is not exactly that. It's a little bit different. Damanhur has many spiritual teachers and masters who are there. Their founder, Falco, was known to be called a being from the future. And it's believed that Falco came from the future and came to humanity and said, look, humanity is not going to progress if they keep going on this timeline of destruction and pain. So I'm coming from the future to establish a new timeline. And if you understand how energy works, really, to establish a new timeline, we need to take our intention and our action and really push that forward to create mastery and to create a new way of being. And so Falco is doing us a great service by trying to establish a new way of being where humanity can actually thrive in tandem with the natural world. And so today, Damanhur has a community where the people live together, and they also have specific rules around marriage, around partnership. They also perform rituals to connect with higher level beings and to establish new ways of being and acting. And then lastly, they also have a technology that they use called Selfika. So my experience at Damanhur was absolutely tremendous. The first thing that I wanted to share is that Damanhur to me was the closest thing that we can find to a present day Atlantis. When I think of Atlantis, Atlantis was a society that had these advanced technologies, that was a very high level civilization where they truly integrated the right and left brain, or the yin and the yang. And the way that I see this transforming and taking place in Damanhur is that they have psychics, channelers, readers who are very much part of their society, and their opinions are taken equally as importantly as anybody else. And I think that in our normal 3D world, that is something that we have grown very far departed from. We have lost the ability to trust in intuition and in the universe from a societal structural level, and we are not seeing people trusting the decisions of channelers and psychics and energy healers at the highest levels of our society. But in Damanhur, that's different, and they do. And so I, as a channeler, found that to be really cool and really inspiring. Damanhur also has a university, so they actually teach different classes. You can go there to learn almost anything at all. You can learn about spiritual alchemy, you can go to healer school, you can learn about dreams and how to astral travel most effectively. And so for me, as somebody who has always wanted to learn more spiritual knowledge, I found it really inspiring to be in a community where I could get access to this information. And I will share that from a young age, as a child, I was always reading these spiritual books, but it felt very individualistic and I felt very alone doing this. And so being at Damanhur was beautiful because finally I was in a group where other people were committed to the same things as me. And there is a genuine desire to really improve humanity. While I was there, I was able to take a spiritual physics class, which is really about the nature of reality, how we as humans came to Earth, what our purpose is on the planet, And just having these types of conversations is so awe-inspiring, because obviously those are not the types of conversations that we are normally having in our everyday world. The other thing I found really interesting about Damanhur is their rules around marriage. So at Damanhur, when you get married, you first get married for only 1 year. And at the end of that year, you have to review your commitments to your partner, and you also review what went well and what didn't go well. And then you have the chance to renew your marriage contract. After a certain amount of time, you can eventually renew for 2 years, and then after that goes well, you can eventually renew for 5 years. But I found this way that they approach marriage very interesting. And what I found myself thinking about while I was there is, would this style of living help our society? Because as we know, in America at least, the divorce rate is sky high, and people are really not doing well in their marriages. And so this was a new, fresh way to approach it that I personally found really fascinating. I also like that they use the 1 year mark as a trigger to make sure that they sit down and really discuss their relationship, how they're being good partners to each other, and how they can improve. And I think that this really interjects that growth mindset that we need in order to have a better humanity, better civilization, better world at large. So I found that really fascinating. There is also something at Damanhur called esoteric marriage, where the two people not only commit to marrying one another, they commit to taking on one another's karma. And so what that means is that they are essentially saying, I love you so much that I'm going to heal this karma that you brought from your previous lifetimes and this lifetime. And I am going to commit to not just healing myself, but also healing with you and for you. And I found this to be a really beautiful concept as well, although it sounds very intense. And I began to see how Damanhur has structured their society in such a way where it's very intelligent and wise. You have to work your way up to being able to do these higher order spiritual things. The last thing that I want to touch on is the technology at Damanhur. So some of you might see the necklace that I'm wearing. This is what's called a power shield, and they have multiple different types of shields that they use. They use a special metal, technically, which they call sulfica, and I'll just show you a bracelet as an example. So this is sulfica, and sulfica is used to essentially act as a radio. That's how they described it to us. So if you imagine the body of a radio is the physical object, but the radio itself has connection to a certain frequency. The sulfica is like the radio, and so by wearing it, you are connecting to a specific frequency. Each sulfica at Damanhur is programmed or attuned to a different frequency, and so it essentially helps you channel that frequency. I also bought a sulfica ring while I was there. This one is really beautiful. It's in the Atlantis collection. And this sulfica is supposed to help attune you to a frequency of prosperity and abundance. And since I've been wearing it, I do feel like things have shifted in my life. And it's almost like a being that lives with you and is working with you to help protect your energy field and align you to more synchronistic opportunities. So at Damanhur, they use sulfica in everything they do, especially their healing sessions. And they also have these magnificent temples that are charged with sulfica. They're underground, and you can go and schedule a visit to the temples, and you can meditate for hours if you want to. Of course, there are certain time slots, but our group that went, we were meditating for between 1 hour to 3 hours in the temples. And that was a huge effect on my energy field. So as somebody who's very sensitive to energy, when I went down into the temples, the first thing I noticed was my entire body was starting to sway from side to side without me doing anything at all. And then after being there for a while, a lot of emotions came up. I was crying a lot. I was thinking a lot about my childhood memories, and I was being shown a lot of psychic imagery and visions. I saw a lot of images of my past lives. I also saw some things into my future, which was really fascinating. And I left feeling really exhausted, but also very clear, like something in me had been cleaned out. And since coming back from Damanhur, I have been able to approach my life from a different perspective. It gave me a really good reset that I needed. And so I don't think that I personally would want to necessarily live in the Damanhur society 24/7 just because I think I want to do other things with my life right now, this second. But that could change, and I really did find it very fascinating from a spiritual perspective, from a learning perspective, and also inspiring to see that there are communities like this. So I hope that this helps give you a little insight into what Damanhur is like, and maybe it will even motivate you to check it out too. It is in Italy. I don't know if I mentioned that. So, if you're not in Europe already, there would be some additional planning, but they also have a center in Colorado that you can visit and take their classes. And I think that what they're doing is really special. So thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay connected to hear more channeled messages and potentially work with me in the future as your coach, please stay in touch. You can subscribe to this channel, give me a big thumbs up if you like this video, and my Instagram is @spiritualitygabriella, all one word, so you can follow me there for more news and updates. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye.